But I think where we need to focus, and if I look back on my career, what was the hardest part was the inclusion and the equity. You recruit at the universities, you try to get more females in, you look for the females when you're interviewing. Okay, I get it. And the numbers will start to change. When they're in, do we just forget it and say we've got success? That's where the real work starts. The real work starts is when you get these folks in. How do you keep them engaged? How do you make them feel a part of?
Welcome to Icons and Insights powered by C360, where the business of sports, technology, and broadcasting converge to create the immersive media economy. Now let's get into it with your hosts, Howard Wright and Cher Jones.
Wearable technology, smart homes, self-driving cars, and smart cities were once Jetson-like futuristic concepts, and now they're becoming integrated into our everyday lives. And while the technology is still in its infancy, the AI and the IoT is creating this truly connected future by transforming the way we interact with our devices and each other every single day for work and play. So today we're going to dive into how this tech is driving the future of the immersive media economy. And we got somebody who literally is an OG of IoT. So tell me about today's guest.
Today's guest is Dipti Vachani, and she is currently SVP and General Manager in Automotive and IoT Division at ARM. Prior to joining ARM, she was Vice President, Internet of Things Group and General Manager of Strategy and Solutions, where we met at Intel Corporations. And she also held VP roles at Skyworks Solutions and TI, Texas Instruments. So you talk about this convergence, this interconnectedness of all these disparate technologies. There are some visionaries that are putting it together. One of those is with us today, Dipti Vachani.
Dipti, welcome to the show. Yeah. I'm so excited. You're an OG of IoT.
I haven't heard that one before, but I'll go with it.
Run with it, because seriously, you were literally holding it down in the IoT space before IoT was even a thing. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know we got a little bit from what Howard shared, but tell us about your background and how that has taken you through to your current role over at ARM.
It's amazing how much technology has moved over the years. I started my career out Texas Instruments, and back then, if you can imagine, Texas Instruments was predominantly a defense company. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was Raytheon. We were working on defense equipment. Imagine the world and how it's changed since then. I spent almost 18 years there, and I remember one day walking down the hallways going, gosh, I've got to do something different. I was wonderful, but it was either I'm going to spend my entire life here or I was going to go to the Mecca of where it all happens. And that is Silicon Valley. And so I uprooted, got up and left and started at Skyworks. And then Howard and I met at Intel, where, I mean, Intel really is, it's like a candy store for an engineer. There is stuff everywhere and just some of the most amazing technology and the innovations. How do you get it all to market? That's another conversation, right? But the innovation and the idea generation it's in a magnificent place to be at and to see all that, some of the smartest people in the world. And today, I work for ARM, mm-hmm. a smaller company, right? Not as large of a corporation, but I believe changing the world at the same magnitude of some of the largest companies of the world, like Intel. The technology we create is what enables the innovations of the world, that enables the proliferation, which started with mobile phones and now IoT and autonomous cars. It's all coming. It's where the root, where the core of it is created. And that's where I am today. So I'm excited. It's really cool.
So Dipti, that convergence, for the lay person, do you think they have any idea how much intelligence is on and around a vehicle and the connectivity and the RF and all the different disparate pieces that you hold together with software and hardware? Could you give us a lay person's description of some of that connectivity, please?
It's amazing, right? Because a lot of us think about the autonomous car of the future, and you imagine this machine like something of the Jetsons, almost a flying machine. And when you walk in your car today, it's already there. It's amazing how there is technology in every angle of your car that is, whether it started with automatic transmission and now what's happening in the engine, to elements of cameras everywhere, to avoiding lane transitions, right? Waking you up if you fall asleep. The technology is already there. It's already immersive, right? And you use that word, and it's absolutely spot on. You are in it. It is around you, and it is helping you and working with you. And that's the distinct difference between what is today and what is autonomous cars, where autonomous cars of the future is I am working for you, right? And this is today where it's a human machine interaction.
Well, when you look at, I noticed that you had a recent article with Forbes, and you said this semiconductor industry is an exciting place with a growing role of electronics in our lives, accounting for a projection that the sector will expand to $500 billion industry in 2021. What are you most excited about with the possibilities that are happening right now? The technology, the possibilities. What are you, as an engineer, as someone who's been in this industry, what's your thing? What are you excited about?
That is a loaded question, because there's so many things to be excited about, and so it's really hard to narrow it down to one element. If you think about the vehicle itself and transportation. Mm-hmm. We think often about the coolness of it, right? Now I get a really cool car, and I get to drive the Tesla, and every day that there's a new software update, I feel like I've gotten a new car, right? Because it's got all these new cute features and gadgets. And that absolutely is cool. But more than that, I think what it does for us, as from a safety standpoint, from enabling transportation or giving access to digitalization to parts of the world that don't have it, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability to be able to give medical care to areas in Africa and India, mm-hmm. where still we have, let's say, infant mortality, right, is a very high number. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason for it. We have the technology today. And what we are doing with all the stuff around connectivity and shrinking the technology, making it affordable, all of those things that sometimes aren't the coolest thing, because it's not the big cool Jetson car, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. in the world. That's what we get the opportunity to do with the connectivity and the technology and IoT, is the ability to actually give access to some of these things in areas of the world that don't have it. And there's no reason for it. Clean water or agriculture, right? Some of the stuff we do with IoT, saving water. We waste water in agriculture at large amounts because we just don't know. Now that we can put sensors underground, and now that we can monitor the hydration, we can now change the way that we use water in agriculture. So there's all of this stuff is not tomorrow. It's happening today, and it's changing our world in ways that may seem subtle to us, because we're in this maybe somewhat of a bubble. We don't see that there's mortality at high levels in areas of Africa and India. You and I probably don't personally experience that, right? Mm-hmm. It's happening, and the technology we are creating is enabling goodness and change and the right direction, I think. And that, I think, is so exciting. That is what I wake up in the morning. Also, as an engineer, I love the cool car. Okay. So
of course.
And I still like it when I go to a customer and they say, "You want to ride in the car?" And I'm like, "Yes." Can I ride in the car? Right? Can I go down the Autobahn? Yeah. So I still do that. I still get nerdy about those things. But I do believe the other stuff is what we all wake up in the morning and feel excited about.
And I'm loving that, because, it takes the shift away from the sexy, exciting stuff that we get to geek out over here in North America and first world countries, where it's like, but when we think of the rest of the world and the impact of this technology that it has on daily lives, and we're not just talking about convenience, we're talking about life and living life better. And that's a powerful way to look at and both accept what's coming in and how it's changing, and not to be afraid of the technology for those that have that, fear around waking it up and being a crazy Will Smith movie or something like that, right? So it's about looking to the future and what it can do for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
who sparked your interest in engineering? Because this is, now we're talking about STEM as a common phrase now, but when we were going to school, it's a bit of a rarity for you to be as accomplished as you are, female from Texas. Take us back to the origin story, Dipti.
Yeah, so I had a crazy teacher, Mr. Johnson. And I wish I had a picture of him, because you would know exactly what I'm talking about. And he was my math teacher, and he wanted to start what was a wild idea at that time, a computer science class.
Okay.
We didn't have a computer. Okay, I'm not really aging myself now. We didn't have computers back then, right? I mean, there was no computers in the classroom, right? And he's like, I'm going to buy a few computers and I'm going to start a computer science class, which was a wild idea. Well, no one would sign up for this class because they didn't know what that was. And, it wasn't accessible to us at that time. And so he said, you're good at math. Why don't you sign up for my class? And I'm like, okay. I don't know. I was just like, okay, whatever. I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is, but I'll sign up for your class. And I did. And I fell in love with it. I love the idea of being able to write a few lines of code and somehow I can get a machine to do something for me, right? I mean, that idea, that control, that high of writing something, hitting execute, and it actually did what you asked it to do, right? So then he started taking me around the United States to compete in computer science competitions, which was a whole other, you had to learn you had to have sprinting skills as well as computer science skills. So what you would do is they'd give you an assignment, like program this. So you'd program this and you'd have your floppy disk. And I'm now again aging myself. You put your floppy disk.
We all held one.
Yeah, okay. And I saved the program, and then you had to run to the judge's desk and hand him the floppy disk, and he would execute it. And if it worked, then you won. And so it was a matter of, can you execute? Can you write your code? Can you execute it? Can you save it? And then how fast can you run and trip everyone along the way? And you know how I tripped a few guys on the way.
I bet you did. And I look at this as far as that being the seed ground for your career and where that's taken you now. But you've been successful for a very long time. You've had these very senior roles, high level roles. And as you look back, because as things have changed, we're seeing more women in STEM, we're seeing more people of color in STEM, which is amazing. So what advice do you have for leaders who are looking to up level?
There's a lot of focus around diversity and the numbers. Okay. So do we have more females? Do we have more African Americans? Do we have more, so we look at these numbers, and we we're getting good at being able to change those numbers. Okay. Right. So let's just put that aside for a moment. Let's say we can do a better job, and we're doing good at that. But I think where we need to focus, and if I look back on my career, what was the hardest part was the inclusion and the equity. You recruit at the universities, you try to get more females in, you look for the females when you're interviewing. Okay, I get it. And the numbers will start to change. When they're in, do we just forget it and say we've got success? That's where the real work starts. The real work starts is when you get these folks in. How do you keep them engaged? How do you make them feel a part of it? I remember, being the only woman at TI and some of my teams and all the other companies I've worked for, I remember not wearing a dress because I thought that if I wore a dress, they'd figure out I'm a woman and I would be, I'm like, I think they maybe figured it out a long time ago, but okay.
The jig is up.
I was on disguise. I didn't wear a dress. And because I just didn't feel like if I was different, I wouldn't fit in, that if they figured out I was different, I wouldn't fit in. And so, and now as a leader, what I try to do is to emphasize my differenceness. I do wear a dress, or I talk about my kids, or I talk about, hey, I got to leave right now because I got to go to my daughter's this, I just say it. And it's saying it's okay that we're all allowed to have our own priorities, our own, what makes us different. It's okay. And so that's one element of just the inclusion, and then the equity. It isn't about everybody getting the same. It's about everybody having access to the same opportunities. And those are absolutely two different things.
Mm-hmm.
And at ARM, we've been spending a lot of time thinking about that. What does that mean, right? How do we do that in a way that's fair? Because fair is still important, right?
Yeah.
And these are really big questions. And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but what I am saying is it doesn't stop at the numbers changing.
Right.
And the numbers changing is probably the easiest part of the problem. And that's a hard part of the problem too. I'm not saying it's easy, but of the other two, which is equity and inclusion, I think that has to be a great deal of our focus right now, because otherwise we're going to move backwards. We're going to move backwards.
On that note, Dipti, to our majority male counterparts, seeking and you having sustained excellence should not be a threat to anybody. It's certainly not a threat to me. Me being 6'8", sometimes physically is a threat. What is the right tone that we need to seek as diverse and inclusive, executives when we're ready to have these long form conversations? The days of it's them versus us hopefully will be over inside the walls that we can control. What's your message to our male majority counterparts that you're not my enemy? I'm not trying to take something from you. I am trying to achieve, some of the things that, my ancestors sacrificed and suffered for as well.
Yeah. I will tell you, to start off with, I am here today because of many of my white male colleagues. I can probably go through a name in two hands of all the people that have lifted me up, that have given me opportunities. So I'm not confused. I am here because the white male colleagues that have reached out to me and gave me opportunities, believed in what I did, and believed in me in ways that I didn't at times believe in myself. So that's one. Two is, it's seek to understand. We're not looking for, look, I don't wake up in the morning looking for reasons to be offended. I don't. If I look for them, I'd find them. They're everywhere. And I think that's our responsibility too, that we seek to understand, that we find common grounds. I say stuff on a daily basis where I put my foot in my mouth and it could be considered offensive, right?
I've never heard you say anything offensive.
Howard, all day long, it. So we're not perfect either, right? And let's not expect that of each other. This is about getting better together, and everyone has a story. Just because I'm Indian woman doesn't mean I have the same exact story of the next Indian woman next to me. And the same is for the white man, right? The story isn't the same, and the story is not the same for a black man, right? We all have stories. We're all unique, and I think we add value in distinct ways. And I think it's about achieving greatness together with all of that we got together, which is our uniqueness. Rather than bucketing us and trying to say, well, one's a threat over the other, and I'm in this bucket and you're in that bucket. I think we got to see past that, right? It's greatness that you achieve together, and we need both. We need all aspects of that to get there, right?
Excellent. So you've been extraordinary in these multinational, these Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies, and you talked about your leaving TI. Talk a little bit about Intel, the recruiting process, because we came in right around the same time with a CEO that's no longer there. What made you decide to leave TI in Texas, come all the way out to Silicon Valley, bring your Rajiv and your daughters out to Silicon Valley?
Well, it was what I said earlier, right? If you, at that time in Texas, in Dallas, if you worked at TI, you are at the best place you can possibly be. And so you get there and you say, and I had achieved what I believed was a great path within the company, and made an impact. And I wanted to see if I could do it somewhere else. I wanted to see, look, I could do it here. And I've had great allies and friends that have been that have given me air cover and supported me and taken me along and dragged me along when I was not doing my best, right? Everybody goes through phases. And I wanted to see if I could get out of that safe environment. What to me was a safe environment. It's an environment I understood. It was an environment where I was comfortable. And could I just make myself completely uncomfortable in a completely new environment when no one knew me and I had to prove it all over again? And I think that's I think something that we all have to keep in mind is the moment we sense ourselves to be comfortable, you got to ask yourself, are you still growing, right? Mm-hmm. Are you still developing? And I think at some point I'd stopped, and it was time to make a change. And damn, was I uncomfortable, because Valley, wow, it's a different world out here, but it's cool. And look, I got to meet Howard and Aisha, and a lot has come out of that. So I think it's important that we do that for ourselves.
And the same motivation led you, or ARM came and recruited you, and it was just time to leave Intel. It was that same cycle of, I don't know, was that 4 or 5 years that we were there? The time was right to do and try something else, to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Completely different,
right? I work for a company where we don't manufacture or make anything. Mm-hmm. It is incredibly freeing and scary at the same time, right? Because I have manufactured silicon my entire life. And so I could touch, feel what it is, right? Mm-hmm. And now I'm at an IP company. And now I don't actually make it. I have to influence the entire industry to do it. And I've got, and so the levers, the skills, everything I'm learning every day.
And that forces you to be an entrepreneur with how you conduct yourself in your role, as well as how you conduct yourself as the individual leader. Talk to me a little bit about the entrepreneurial skills that you tap into to succeed in this environment right now.
Well, it's a question I get often, right? Is how can you be an entrepreneur in these big machines, right? They're machines, right? Mm-hmm. And Howard knows what kind of machine I'm talking about. And it is about, look, first of all, if I'm not changing, if I'm not making an impact, if I'm not creating, that's what inspires me, creating something. Mm-hmm. Then I'm not having fun. I'm not happy. And right. When I'm not happy, nothing, no one's happy. No, I'm joking. No. It's at that point, you're. I had to go there. It was just.
That was really funny. I'm sorry.
So this is what inspires me. That's what I'm trying to do, is make an impact, and an impact on several ways, right? Can I create something new? And so one of the things that at ARM we did when I got here is we deployed something called flexible access for startups. What I noticed is startups didn't have access. It wasn't as easy for startups to have access to our technologies. And there's going to be a next Google out there, the next big Amazon out there. And I wanted to give all these startups access to our technology so they can start to create. Mm-hmm. And so we created a new business model, a new plan called Flexible Access for Startups. So again, there's ways you can do this within the corporate engine, and create innovation and new technologies and new business models that have access to your technology for new startups, as well as doing having entrepreneurial skills within the company and creating new businesses within the company. And there's two aspects of that. But I think it's what motivates me. It's where I get excited. And so naturally you're going to move towards that. What can I create? Because I'm here, I'm going to create something. Mm-hmm. I'm not going along with the machine. I will understand the machine. I will know how to work within the machine, but I'm here to create something new. And that's what excites me.
I think one of the things, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah. I think one of the things especially as you are creating, there's another extension of that creation that happens as far as thought leadership, as far as creating your brand and putting yourself out there. And both you and Howard, at the leadership levels that you are, this is something that has become I would say mandatory as a part of what you do, because when I was researching you, I see how you show up for the different companies that you've worked for, and that is the extension of your brand and your thought leadership, representing these large multinationals, and everything that you're doing. So how has that played a role into your success as well?
It's a good point, and it's not something that I think we wake up and say, "What's my brand, and how am I going to represent my brand today?" It has to come from your core. It has to be authentic, right?
Mm.
And right off the bat, people are going to sense that, and that is, I think, one of the things that Howard, I picked up on Howard immediately, right? And that's why I think we connected, because I saw another individual that was passionate and authentic about what they were going after, right? And at the time you were running the sports business and helping with that at Intel. And, you saw Howard and you saw, wow, he is excited about that. And he is passionate about that. And I hope to represent that as well for what I do. And that passionate authenticity and that excitement, people want to follow that. Right? People want to follow that, right? And so that's what creates followership in the company. And guess what? That followership transcends companies. So again, we are no longer at Intel together, but we will be friends forever, right? As a result of what we created there. And then I hope we work together again, Howard, at some point. And so that's what you start to create, is a brand, a passion, an authenticity that transcends not necessarily the environment you're in. You're bringing it to the environment. You're working within that environment, but as you move, you start to create this followership or this tribe that thinks very similar to you, and you latch on to that, and then it helps you the next place. So you just got that tailwind with you as you go forward.
Yeah, people want to be inspired, and I've certainly been inspired in my career and some of the friends and peers and mentors I've been able to work with. I want to personalize this just a little bit as well, Dipti. Your two daughters seem to be young, extraordinarily young women. You think about your sustained excellence, your sustained exceptionalism. Do you think about that driving into work? Is that their eyes are watching me too, or are you just going out with your mission, with your purpose, and in the wake, folks will be influenced and inspired as well?
No, I think often about not just my daughters, but the responsibility of being at these levels. Look, my daughters will remind me every day that I'm not that special, right? I am SVP / short order cook,
and Uber driver,
or laundry woman. So they humble you often, but at the same time, it is very important. All eyes are on us. It is important that we represent this correctly. I remember, I'll tell you. I remember I was at Intel and someone came to me and said, "Look, we need someone to testify in Congress, and the person that was tagged to testify in Congress isn't able to do so, and so we want to know if you can do it." And we got 1 week's prep, and you got to go out to Washington. And I had a lot of stuff going on at the time. I was really busy. I didn't know if I had the time to do it, and I said, "You know what? I can't. I don't have the time." And then I went home that evening and I went, "Wait, what did I just do?" That was an opportunity to just showing up as different. So this government sees that this is what makes up technology. It's us. It's different. It's not what you see every day, and we got to respect that. And what louder way to send that message than to personally sit and testify in Congress? And so the next day I went to work and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." It was the most thrilling and nerve-wracking thing I've ever done in my life, but it certainly, I think about that as to how do I show up, and where do I need to show up, so that maybe those eyes are watching and it will send a message that it's okay, we can do this, to the little ones, or to those that don't know that there's diversity and we need to respect diversity in the industry. that we are out there too, right? So there's many audiences that are watching this.
And I love that me and Howard both love that, clearly. One of the things that Howard does for each one of our shows is he hand selects our guests. So he hand selected you for obvious reasons. And he has one iconic question, and he has all of our icons to really grab that insight. And I'm curious to hear your answer. So Howard, let you ask your famous question to Dipti.
So Dipti, in your professional career, what has been the best day of that career? And what's been the worst day of that career, and why for both?
Okay. So there's been a lot of good days and a lot of bad days. So it's really hard to pick one. I will go with a couple which are representative. The best day, I remember this very clearly, and it's a best day, or it's something that goes down in the memory books when you can actually remember the way you felt, mm-hmm. or the way what you were wearing, or how it goes down that specific in your memory book. And I remember there was a lady that I was mentoring, and I had been mentoring her for quite some time, and she had a lot of challenges of trying to get to the next level. She wanted to be a VP in her company. And I remember her, I was driving into work, and she called me up to tell me that she had been nominated as a VP, and she'd gotten that promotion. And she had started out in this journey in a way where everybody's out to get me. Mm-hmm. And that never gets you anywhere. That's just a mentality that will suffocate you and will make you small when you get to believe that everyone's out to get you. And so to transition that everyone's out to get me to, I'm going to find my allies, that I'm going to be the best version of myself that I can be. So it was a lot of transition that I had to work with her through. And the fact that she had achieved that and then gotten the goal that she really wanted, and that's really what we want. And a lot of us, right? We want to, those of us, the friends that I have, we want to set the next layer of leadership. So we can sit on the beach and have a pina colada and know that they're out there making that difference for the next generation. So that was, I remember that day very clearly. The worst day is another day. And again, it's not the worst day, but it's a bad day. I could just immediately comes to my mind was a day that I had been working on an opportunity, right? And often what you see in my resume, what you'll see out there is all the impacts I've made. But mm-hmm. I've had probably just as number of failures or more failures in that process, right? You take chances, that's going to happen, right?
Par for the course.
Par for the course. And I remember that day that I was trying to build this business, and I was trying to win this customer, and I had spent so much time building rapport with them, and I had my team working on technology with them, and I felt like I was making an impact. And I was sure I'd won the business, and I was sure I can build this space that I wanted to. It was within TI. And I got in a call that morning that we didn't win the business. Someone mm-hmm. else had won the business. I think it's an old company that Howard used to work for. But they had won the business and I had lost. And I had let my team down. I felt I let my team down. I let myself down. I let my boss down. I let my company down. All those things went through my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember standing outside my boss's office he was in a meeting, and I wanted to tell him what was going on because I wanted him to hear it from me first. And as he said, I looked at you and I thought someone died. I mean, you had no color in your face, and that's exactly how I felt. And so, I think it's important that you feel it. Mm-hmm. I think it's important that you're authentic to it. I think it's important that you let your team know you felt it. And so I did. Mm-hmm. And I will admit, I cried, right? Mm-hmm. It's mm-hmm. okay. Yeah. You're human, and people want to know you care that much, because I cared that damn much, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we got ourselves up, and that business is rocking now. We got ourselves up. We figured it out. We changed our direction. We found a new market to go after. We're all okay. Everything will be okay. But I think it's important. And I remember these failures as much as I remember the successes, because they're there.
That's good.
That was really good.
Dipti, we used to see each other every day, either going into or out of the building, or sometimes at the airport going hard.
Well, you're easy to find.
Yeah.
Can't miss them.
Between COVID and everything else, these new companies, we don't see each other hardly ever. Just, from our family, from Amanda and I, the girls and the little one, miss you. Wish only the best for you and the girls and Rajiv. And we are continuing to cheer from the sidelines, just like we were when all of us at Intel watched you live just slay them in Congress.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for everything, Howard. I will be out there. I'm going to come check out Colorado. It seems really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
Pittsburgh too, while you're at it.
I was just in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a damn cool city. That's a really fun city.
Little quiet hamlet, this little jewel, and it's a fishing pond that only a handful of tech companies have figured out. You got kids from Pitt, from Penn State, from Penn, and then of course CMU, Google, Amazon, Facebook. I'd like to think we're there. That's attracting some of the talent as well. It is a wonderful kind of Midwest way of life. And I try to get out there at least once a month to spend time with the team. But basically everybody is virtualized at this point.
Yeah, same here. But soon enough, I hope.
Soon enough. And today we definitely learned a lot from you, Dipti, and I appreciate everything, how transparent you were as far as the journey, the diversity, insights, as well as just everything else that you shared. We definitely took a lot away from that. And that's what the show is all about, is really gaining that insights from icons like you. So thank you so much for joining us. We absolutely loved having you on. Hope to have you back. And for everybody watching, just keep watching, because we've got leaders just like this to really bring it and bring what you need to know to see what's next, especially in the immersive media economy. So you've been watching or listening to Icons and Insights powered by C360. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you.